Hey guys, sorry for interrupting. I'm Lou Nieves Jr. alongside
Jesse Torres.
And this is episode 26. I didn't say that the last episode, so that would most likely be 25. But this is, I don't know, would you consider this our official studio space? What do you think? I mean, if you guys saw the last episode, you saw we had a purple background. Now we're red. And if you've seen our previous podcast, we were in the kitchen. We're just switching things up. So if you guys, what's that?
You guys missed the background?
That's what I'm saying. If you do miss the background and you want to switch it up and you want us to go back, let us know in the comments below.
Yes.
Give us some feedback. Let us know what you think of our background.
I like it. So far, so good.
I like it too. I think it's pretty cool.
I think the first one I'm like still adjusting. I'm still adjusting.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure it out. We don't know for sure if this is going to be official, but since we purchased it, we figured let's try and use it. And again, we're doing 2 shows in one day again, so we're trying to make the best of our time that we have. And we literally are just figuring things out as we go along. Mm-hmm. But today,
you guys are growing with us.
Yeah. And today we have a special side off the camera guest with us. Ding! We always talk about her, especially in the last couple episodes. You hear her just making that coughing sound. We have Jessica's sister Jen. She's helping.
Hi.
She's helping with the camera stuff in the background.
Yeah. I hired her for that.
So, me and Jesse, we just came back from a movie.
Wait, you want to say anything?
Oh. I said hi.
Okay, that's her introduction. Hi. People were like, "Where's that voice coming from?"
Oh my God, where is it?
But we just came back from seeing The Photograph.
Wow,
what a boring movie.
Wow.
It was nothing like I thought it was gonna be.
No.
The trailer could really mess you up.
I don't think I remember the trailer because in my head I had a whole different view on what the trailer was, and the movie had nothing to do with it. So,
but
thank you for trying.
Listen, it's something you wanted. We always go see what I want, so I figured we'd go see something you want. But we were.
And it was like,
yeah, we were not having a good time. I was really not upset. I was just bothered. Like, when is it gonna end? And it just never did. Every time I think it's gonna end, they go to another scene. I'm like, we got the point. Just end
they did a lot of staring and just.
Wow. Yeah, they did do that.
Just staring.
So on our way home, we were talking about it, not too much because there was not much to talk about.
Yeah.
But we had this idea where when we're at our workplace, there are co-workers, whether it be opposite sex of us or same sex, where not for all of us, but we have a work wife or work husband, or what you call a work companion, I guess you could say.
No, they usually call it like work husband, work wife.
Yeah. I've never had one of those. So I don't know what a work wife is, but I know the concept. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about it now. Is that considered cheating, having a work wife or work husband? Although you may not be doing anything physically, there are other things that consist of a work husband or a work wife. And some people use it very loosely. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, there's
girls.
What is going on?
My girl just keeps like.
Fix your
it'll
hair,
drop.
Man.
It just. Sorry.
So I asked Jessie, did you ever have a work husband? And she works with mainly females, and her male doctors or male coworkers are doctors. Or they just don't have time for her. So, but we were talking about it, and then we brought it up to Jen, and I was like, Jen, have you ever had a work husband? She doesn't have a real life work husband. And I said, wait, what? And she's right. She actually works with her husband. So, Jen, what's that like, working with your husband? It's kind of different than what we're kind of talking about, but actually having your husband to work with you, what's that like?
Yeah.
I thought that, I felt comfortable once I got hired because he started first. Mm-hmm. And when I got hired, I didn't have a problem with it. When people found out that I was working with him, they would say, oh my gosh, what does it feel like? I'm like, I think it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Had it been years ago, I think it would have been awkward because there was a lot of insecurities, there was a lot of doubts and worry and stuff. And as a drug and alcohol counselor, he meets with men and women. Mm-hmm. And so I probably would have felt some kind of way every time I would check in a client and know that, okay, she's going to be meeting with that. I probably would have felt some kind of way. But I don't now, I guess, because we've grown and we've matured and we've been through so much that the trust is there. Mm-hmm. So, no, I don't believe there's anything wrong with it. It may not work for everybody because although we work together,
You guys are married, so you live together, right?
Yeah.
So you're with each
Yeah.
other all the time. Like, there's no gaps. I mean, of course, he doesn't work right next to you. You
No,
guys
no, no.
work
You
in the
guys
same
don't do the
facility.
same thing.
Yeah, no, he's a drug and
But
alcohol
involved, yeah.
counselor, and I started off with doing administrative assistant, and then now I do billing and human resource and case management. So although we see each other, but we're not always,
Yeah.
you know.
And I
In the
think
same
that's
place.
well, I know this is off, but it's still on the topic where people are like, I can't work with my wife, or I can't
Yeah,
work with my
yeah,
husband. That's
yeah.
too much time together,
It
or
could be
you know.
difficult, yeah.
But I think it's how you guys mesh and what job, like, you know, like I think. Let's say we were to have this as our full time, right? Or like,
I would love it.
I wouldn't mind because I love doing this with
Yeah.
you. I love working. Like it's great. Now I could also see how if you're doing photography and I'm doing massage, actually that also goes well because you could take pictures of for me for my business.
I'm not gonna be in the room while you massage
Yeah, I
people.
was
No,
just
no,
gonna
not
say, like, would
no,
they feel comfortable?
no,
Like-
not in the room. Oh yeah, like no, but like as promoting, like where we were, you know,
yeah, marketing and promoting.
Yeah, so I think that it will still work together. Okay, my example was horrible, but like some people can't work with their husbands because they feel like
They need that time away. They need their personal space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our bosses, they are husband and wife, and they work together, and it works for them.
Mhm.
I guess it depends on the type
It
of
depends.
job it is,
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
maybe.
yeah,
And then also, I think it would be awkward if your husband or your wife acts weird. Like you as their spouse would notice if they're like, this is not how you really act.
Yeah.
But how Edison acts and how I act is how we
All
act,
the time.
whether
All the time,
That's
yeah.
good.
he's around or
Yeah.
not, you know, and vice versa. But I think it's also like he has different relationships with coworkers. You know, they have before I even came into the picture. The way that he interacts with them, he still
He
still
she speaks like me.
that relationship is the same when I'm around and when I'm not.
Yeah.
So I think it would be awkward altogether if they noticed it and if I noticed
Yes,
it.
and you know what's so crazy now that we're talking about that, and then we're talking about work wife and work husband. If you do have one, does your partner know? Like, does your real husband and real wife know? And do they know the tightness? Like, do you? Because obviously, like, you're calling them a work husband, work wife. It's more than just a coworker now, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if it wasn't, you would just say my coworker. But if
Yeah.
you're saying
That's true.
my work husband, like in my case, if
Because-
it was a male, then it'll be like, okay, there's more conversation, there's more to it, right? It's like do you open conversations that it's from your relationship, that's why you call it work husband, because you're getting more intimate, right? If you're calling like a husband or work wife, you're getting more intimate into the conversation at work, right?
Right.
Now, do they know your partner, or does your partner knows them? And
Or
is it
they're
okay?
aware of who they are.
Yes.
Have they ever
Right.
met them
Yes.
and stuff like that? Okay. I think that's difficult because then there has to be a point where they two meet. So does the wife or husband come to your job and meet them? Like when they go to see you or pick you up from work, like, hey, this is my work wife. That must be weird.
That's awkward.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like,
For not only for the work wife, but weird for
The-
the real wife to meet the work wife. Like,
Yeah.
you're sharing him. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you do spend a lot of time at work. Think about it. You're spending half your
most of your
week-
time you're at work.
40
Like if you're
hours a
working
week.
an 8-hour day,
Yeah.
right? Your 8 hours.
you're spending that with your work wife, quote unquote, you know? So that must be a little bit, it could be at a point where the wife or the husband can feel intimidated because
Yeah, I was
you're
just gonna
spending
say
more
that.
time with that person than you are with your own wife.
Which I
because-
think that would lead into like emotional cheating, I think, in an aspect where I
So let's
think
just
when
get
you're
this straight.
becoming one, when you're husband and wife, you're one, and there's conversation that there's things that between two people, it stays. You don't go and speak to somebody else on that. Like,
no, I get what you're saying, but now we gotta make boundaries, right? What is considered cheating, right? Because I know it's a whole different topic, but when now you're involving emotions, some people don't look at it that way. Like, oh, I'm not physically doing anything with her or him. I'm not cheating.
Or they may look at it like we're just really, really close at work.
Yeah,
so then they're like, everybody just looks at us like we're husband and wife.
Yeah, but we have nothing for each other.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, what if you buy her lunch all the time? Now, is that considered cheating? Or what if she cooks for you and brings you food? Is that considered cheating?
That's a little OD. Yeah. I think that's if we're all going out, like if we're going out to lunch and we order, right? We order lunch and like, I got you, don't worry about it. Then I think that's cool.
Okay.
And vice versa. Like
I agree.
if then the next day you want to order and you want to pay for him or the other way around, that's cool. But if it's like on a consistent basis where
all the time.
I know that you're going to pay for me, or I know you're going to bring me food, like that's a little bit, it's a little bit, I had to Google it real fast, like what work spouse means.
Oh, okay.
And
we're going to keep you here more often.
Wikipedia says,
I know, right?
it says work spouse is a phrase mostly in American English referring to a coworker, usually of the opposite sex, with whom one shares a special relationship having bonds similar to those of a marriage.
Well, that's why they
See,
use
that's
work
a little bit
wife.
too much.
Yeah, because
You're crossing that friendship bond, like line, where it's like now you're going beyond that. So it's like, why? Like,
I think it's more common, I guess, to hear it as a single person, like when you,
I
right?
think so. I think
being married and saying this is my work husband.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much.
Because
And
having a work spouse doesn't necessarily mean you're married, and so you have a work spouse just at work. You know, it could be you're single.
I think if you're single, fine.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because then there is no
if
attachment.
both are single,
Both, yes.
But then there are
because
times.
then that wouldn't be right. Where if I'm single and I'm calling, let's say you're my coworker,
And I'm married.
you're married, and I'm like, oh, he's my work husband. Like that's a little.
Yeah.
I'm like kind of stepping on your wife
Yeah.
shoes.
And then
Like,
let's say,
right?
like my wife would say, "Oh, take some food for tomorrow." Like, nah, Jessie got me. She said she's gonna cook me something. Then it's like,
Whoa.
like who? Like, my coworker. But
No.
you know, then it starts to like, well, why
Why is
I'm
she
making
cooking?
you food?
I mean,
I'm
yeah,
your
you're
wife.
not taking, but you're
Yeah.
taking it from.
If it gets to that extreme or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, that's when you start questioning. Like, now you're taking hers over mine. I'm your wife. We're
Yeah.
married. You know.
Like Edison, so we have a coworker, and they're always joking with each other. Their bond is really tight, and so she put him up on a dressing, like a salad dressing. So she would always bring salad, and will bring enough for him, but she's bringing it for herself. It's not that she's bringing.
She has
Oh,
leftovers,
You know, and then
it
she'll
just so happens
she'll
that
share. She'll be like, Edison, would you like some? And then since then. Now we make salad at home. We make the dressing, and so we come to work, but I prepare it for the both of us. Not that I would feel some kind of way if she continued bringing salad for him, but because she sees that he is trying to eat better, then.
But my thing is this, right? So she knows you guys are together. You're married.
Yes.
You guys work together. Now, have you ever felt where she singled him out and now you're like, hey, Edison, would you like to try this dressing? Rather than, hey, you guys, or hey, do you think your wife or do you think Jen would like this? Do you ever feel like it was like directly just for him and like, hey?
or if it
Yeah,
was directly to him.
She has directly just spoken to him, or and even in front of me, and say, Edison, I got you salad, and not say anything to me, but I don't take
You
it.
don't take it
because
personal.
I feel like her intentions are not to say like, Edison, I got you only.
But then that involves the insecurities, right? So you're not insecure in your marriage.
No,
So that's where some people will be like, they'll talk to their husband later on like, yo, I don't want you talking to her no more. 'Cause
Yeah,
she didn't come
you
to
see,
me
I think
out
if
of
you know your
respect.
position, also you don't let little things. You have to be secure in your relationship, right?
Man,
Wait,
I'm sorry, but go ahead. I'm reflecting, and I don't want to.
yes,
lose my
don't lose that thought.
Yeah.
But I was on. I remember I told you on. It was DoorDash. So
Oh yeah. So the person called.
the person
Go ahead.
called
This is interesting.
and said, "Did you have a conversation with my husband?" Right?
Wait, this is
with
real
my
life?
man.
Yeah, this
yeah.
happened.
Wait, they called you?
No, not me.
someone
This
else.
is
Oh,
another.
oh.
This is like 3 people, right?
Okay.
So the girlfriend called the girl and said, "Did you have a conversation with my man?"
Oh, whoa.
And then she says, "I don't know who your man is." And she goes, "Yeah, you spoke to him for 2 seconds."
What?
It was like, I don't remember, I don't recall. And he goes, "It says it on the bill, right?" So then there was like, I don't know, does your husband work for DoorDash? She goes, "Yeah, so you know my husband and you know where you work at, right?" So then She was like, first of all, your husband delivered me food that I ordered.
You need to talk
He
to
called
him.
me. He was like, you're so insecure for our
Wow.
2-second conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you're flipping. And like, she was like cursing at her and everything. Like, you spoke to my man. It's like, like, she was so insecure over 2 seconds. Just imagine if he did actually have a conversation with somebody.
Or if he was doing Uber and you drove my husband.
You drove, yeah,
or
like,
you drove my girl.
Yeah, like, like, it was just crazy, but it's because of the insecurity. So to go ahead and say,
I remember when Edison and I were in high school. I think it was maybe my senior year. I'm not sure, but I remember walking in the hallways with him. And it's so awkward because she's so sweet. She's a I love her. I'm not gonna say no name, but she I was very, very insecure at the time. So I remember just walking with him, and all of a sudden he let go of my hand because then he stopped to speak to her. But then I kept walking. I was cool with it. But then I noticed, like, when I turned around, okay, he's not catching up. Like, he's taking too long. So then he finally caught up, and when I turned around, he had like a brush in his hand. He didn't have this brush in his hand before. So at the time he had hair because he's bald now, right?
Wow.
But anyway, so he used
Edison.
This was when the waves were in, I guess.
Oh man.
And so she bought him a brush for his waves. I'm like,
why is she buying you a brush?
what you got, what's his brush for?
Yeah.
He's like, no, she just got me for waves. I was like, well, you're gonna go back to her and say thank you, but no thank you. And he gave it back to her. But looking back at it, I'm like, dang, that's embarrassing. Like, but I was very insecure then.
But you were young too.
That's the difference. Yeah, I was young, but we experienced a lot at that point.
Yeah.
I was very insecure, and I had reasons to, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lack of trust. So, I mean, and that's different because that's at school and that's not being... But she got him something, and I'm like, she got you a brush for... How does she know you need a brush?
Yeah.
You know?
So I feel that in that work environment, you are spending a lot of time with one another. And with that being said, now it's like, who sets the boundary? Now, you both know that each other's is married, or one is married somewhere, somehow.
Or in a relationship.
Yeah. It doesn't have to necessarily...
It doesn't have to be married. You're right. Like, when does that boundary like stop? Like, or when does that person realize this is going too far? Does it need to be the person who's in the relationship to stop it, or if they're both in the relationship, so should one of them, or just it's just work? Like, how do you separate that? Because there's nothing you can do. They do work together.
Yeah, I think it could be either or, but I think if conversations are being now very off work topic, or you could still talk about family, you could still talk about, but I feel it's depending on the certain situations, or if you feel like the need to hide it from somebody. Like, I tell you about my guy coworkers, right? And I feel like if I have to hide those conversations where I'm not telling you, I have to tell you everything.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Oh, he got a cat, or he like none of that. Tell me,
I don't care.
But if there's certain certain conversations that I'm like, I don't know, because he's not
too
gonna
risky.
Yeah, I think that's crossing the line.
Yeah.
Also, if there's like text messaging outside of work,
we're gonna get into that.
Or calls, like, like. I don't know.
Because I could say that I experienced that, where the girl, at the time I was with my son's mother, and there was a girl at my job that we would continuously converse at work. And then it led to having text messages outside of work. And it was innocent. It wasn't anything sexual. There were nothing implementing that there was something that was going to happen. She knew I had someone. She had someone. But we just communicated well. And yes, I did express personal things where I was going through a relationship. I needed to vent. So she was there, and I did that. I didn't think of anything of it. Looking back on it, I shouldn't have done that. I should actually spoke with my girl at the time to go over those things. And then as the text messages continued, then it started to get phone calls, and it was phone calls on the weekends. And then it's like, I'm hiding my text messages because I know what I'm doing is wrong, because if my baby mom or my son's mom, I don't like that term, baby mom, if my son's mom were to see this, she would not like it, and I wouldn't like it either, So I've been in that situation, and it's not a pretty one. And to me, if you gotta hide that, like what you're saying, then you know what you're doing is wrong. And it shouldn't go beyond work. Like, if you're gonna have that work wife mentality, work husband work mentality, I know it sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but if it's happening there, and I'm not saying that it should, but if it's happening, you shouldn't go beyond that, because now you're doing extra.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? I think at that point, then
Now it's
your
not
spouse
even,
should know them,
Yes.
and it should be
now there should be
something
an
where
introduction.
it's a friendship amongst the two.
Yeah.
And I think you also have to think about, like, if you're having a conversation with your work spouse, you have to ask not
Quotes.
just
That's quote.
yeah.
Quoted, you're on
Oh, I'm
camera.
sorry. It's not just necessarily whether you would tell the person you're in a relationship or not, but like you have to ask yourself, okay, the conversation that I'm having with this
Is it
person
appropriate?
now, would it be a conversation
Yeah.
I would have in front of the person
That's
I'm in a
true.
relationship with?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's good.
Because then
true.
that's something that you have to ask yourself in that moment, like, okay, would I be okay having a conversation with him or her in front of us?
Yeah.
Because then if so, then it's fine. Then it's not
Yeah.
really a work spouse. It's just something you're titling it as, but it's just a friendship and you get close.
I think the work husband, work wife can be taken out of context too if it's just something innocent where it's like you guys two get along and you use it as a friendly
It's
term.
just like a, you know,
Yeah.
oh, like we're so close, we do everything together, and it's like that's how like marriage is. So it's like, but
Or
I
if
think,
people or if other coworkers are referring you guys as a work
yeah,
wife,
like you guys
work
are like
husband,
husband wife, you guys are
not
fighting, or you guys are,
necessarily
you know,
saying
like,
it, yeah.
then yeah. But I feel that a lot of situations people fall in, because I was one of them, to fall into a very innocent conversation.
Yeah, you didn't think of you were doing anything wrong at the time. Yeah.
So it was like I was actually just thinking I was helping. In my eyes, it was like the person reached out to me, and then it was like, oh, I'm having relationship problems, and I'm like, oh my God, you know, there's this book, the love language, the 5 love language, and then I'm here little by little introducing, you know, just having these conversations, and then it was like
thinking you're helping them.
Thinking that I'm helping. And then slowly but surely, I was getting, our emotions were coming together. And it was like, he was seeing it. I didn't look at it like anything, because it was like,
it was innocent.
You know what? I'm not doing anything. Like, you know, I'm single and I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm not meeting with the person. I'm not kissing. I'm not doing anything. Like, there's nothing there. But then it's like, conversation was like late at night. It was an inappropriate timing. And it was just like, looking back, I should have never even opened that. I should have been like, you know what, this is a 5 love language. If you see me on, you know, Instagram, whatever, it's I think it was Snapchat, that's how it first started. It was like, okay, here's this information, take it, and not even go on it. But I continued thinking it was a friendly conversation, and then it led to something else. And that's just how literally the enemy tries to creep into something that you shouldn't be in.
Because in your case, you were honestly just being innocent and trying to be helpful, give some advice. But at the time, you're not thinking, because you're not in a relationship. I think if you were in a relationship at the time, you probably wouldn't have went the extra mile,
right?
Because you're single.
I'm
you're
single,
not
so I'm just like, I'm just helping a relationship. Oh, that wasn't me.
Look at that.
I hit the light. But yeah, you're not thinking anything. You're simply just giving advice. That's all you're doing. It's something so innocent, and a lot of people deal with this every day, because let's think about it. Everyone is going through something. No marriage is perfect. No relationship is perfect. And even us, even though that we think that because we don't argue, our relationship isn't perfect, because we're not perfect human beings.
Exactly. And we're never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's all about learning and growing. And we always say that. But it's just being mindful of how the conversation starts, and like, because it could be something innocent that could turn into something and escalate to something bigger. And then it's like, now your emotions are involved, and you feel like, I can't push back, or I can't hold back. It's like, really, is these feelings, are these feelings real? Like, am I really feeling it, or is this just something that is just in the moment? Like, you know, like, you don't want to get yourself caught into that.
Because you're not even knowing. You may be feeling a void that he's missing with his current relationship. So he's grasping onto you because you're feeling that. You know what I mean? And that's
and
what
vice versa.
Yeah, because that's what happened to me, where I didn't even think about it. Where it's like, let's just say, for instance, I say to her, oh, my son's mother doesn't wash the dishes. Oh, I'm like a washing machine. I wash all the dishes. So I'm like, oh, wow, you do that.
Yes.
Like, wow, I wish she would have done that. And vice versa. It could
and then you're looking at her like, wow,
she washes dishes. My girl
really
doesn't
good.
wash dishes.
Wow,
oh, I fold clothes. Why doesn't my girl fold clothes?
It's like, and then you're thinking like, well, maybe
I
if
should
go
be with
into
her.
If I get into this relationship, you know, it
I'm
actually
gonna
will
benefit.
work.
Yeah.
And it's just
you see how something so
those
small,
little things,
how it just starts
it
to
matters
build and
though,
build.
because
if you're not careful,
it literally was. I feel like that's how it was in my situation. I feel I was single, so it was just like not that I didn't care, but it was more like I was free to do. Like
you weren't as cautious.
I wasn't looking into anything, but I wasn't feeling any void.
Yeah.
But I feel that the other person looked at it like, I'm having issues with my wife, and she's not doing this and that. wow, Jess is like, doing so much, and look, she's so like happy and all this stuff, and it's
She's
just like, yeah, I'm happy, I'm
independent
single,
and stuff. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm living my life, and it's like you're looking at your wife as like she's miserable, she's always home, she's always complaining, like the person you're cheating with or it's always gonna be exciting.
Yeah.
They're not with you all the time.
Yeah.
They're not dealing with the
Yeah.
stress
There's
of
no
like
commitment
financial.
there.
Yeah, there's no financial situation that you guys are battling or kids or anything like
Yes.
that. So everything is fun when you're with the person. Now leave the person you're with to be with the side piece and become the main.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have the same
Of
issues
course.
because then life
Probably even
reality
worse
things-
because then those
because then
insecurity
it's like
starts.
the whole, well, you cheated on me when you were with your wife.
Yeah.
Like
And I've seen in
Yeah.
instances, and I know this is a little bit off topic, but I have witnessed where a person would be with this side chick for years, and once the wife found out about it, obviously it would have to end if the wife found
Yeah.
out, but.
Unless
They
she accepted
actually
it, yeah.
did end the marriage did end, and then he got to be with the side chick, and that didn't last.
it didn't.
Those
I
things
think
never last when they
I-
start off
The
bad.
adrenaline,
Yeah, I
it
think
the
ends
the
bad.
adrenaline that
adrenaline
you
and the,
get,
like,
that whole,
Ooh, I get
and
to
that's the thing. Like
creep and-
it's fun. Like you
Right.
get that whole like. I don't know. Some people get a thrill out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I did when I was messing up. It was just like that whole you're not committed, but you're having fun, and it's just like you're not really.
There's no
being
ties
There's
or anything. You're not
there
attached.
isn't any ties. So
Yeah.
it's just like, okay, you're having fun. I don't have to deal with
Yeah,
anything.
after this is
If I
done,
just
I go
wanna-
my way,
Like,
you
I
go
have
your
to
way.
clean my hands off,
or
and that's
like
good.
the side piece will be like, listen, I didn't want that whole full commitment.
Right,
I just
right.
wanted like a commitment. Like when I tell you we want to see each other, we're going to see
Yeah,
each other.
that's it.
But not
Yeah.
like, okay, now you're going to live with, you're trying to live with me because your wife just kicked you out. Like, like
Yeah.
I don't want that. I kind
But then they're
of
like,
love
oh,
living
she
by myself.
kicked me out because of you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
it's
no,
just like-
you decided. I was just along for the ride.
Like I was just using some of your money. Like,
Yeah.
I just needed to pay rent.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because that whole world could then spin on you, and then you're left with the bag, and you're now all alone
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you'll lose your wife, and then you lose your side piece, and now you're like, damn, I'm messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And it
know,
wasn't even worth it. Oh.
exactly. So it's the whole idea of the conversation was, be cautious of
Yes.
what you do.
And what you title as
Yeah.
work husband, work wife. And
because we know that you spend more time at work than you do with your own family. So really try to separate those boundaries. And listen, I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. What I'm saying is, if you decide that this is what you want to do, and you're going to keep it friendly, then by all means do it. But, be cautious of what you're doing and make sure that everyone knows that's in part of this whole, party of
relationship.
Yeah.
Work relationship.
You're just my work husband or my work wife.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, then nothing gonna happen after
There-
this.
yeah.
And make sure you tell your spouse too, like, hey, listen, this
They
person.
consider us work husband, work
Let
wife.
them know ahead of time, because if they find out through social media, like, you never told me how
Or
to
like
how
in a
work
gathering,
wife.
like an annual
Yeah.
party, and
Yeah,
it was
like,
like,
these two,
oh,
they're
these two, oh my
inseparable.
god,
Yeah.
they're like,
It's gonna be a
we
long
always say
talk
they're
going
husband
home.
and wife. And it's like,
Yeah. Or she's always preparing coffee for him. Like, what?
it's like, really?
Really? You?
Yeah.
He be buying you lunch?
talk about
Okay,
it
we're gonna
at
talk about it in the ride home. We're gonna see who be buying lunch after this. You ain't going to work tomorrow. That's it. You put in your papers. You quit. I don't care if you stay home that day. And that's it. Now you're gonna get home from Uber Eats.
That's your own, not even.
No.
They might have a conversation.
Or you could be like, well, that's good. I don't have to give you lunch money anymore. Let him pay for it. You can look at it like that too. Like, oh, he's doing me a favor.
thank you, bro.
Yeah,
Thank
I want to shake this man's hand.
I don't have to cook. Oh, well, Jesus.
Like, oh, she's
God,
making
praise
you
the Lord.
lunch. Good. Enjoy.
Comes in abundance.
Well, on that note, guys,
Oh,
our
man.
time is up.
Thank
we
you,
want to
sis,
say
for
yes. Thank you to Jen
You're
for
welcome.
joining us.
controlling the camera.
Controlling the camera. She didn't move it once. It's been on a tripod the whole time. But yeah, thank you for joining us and having this conversation. It was great. And thank you guys for joining us. Our episode 26 with the new background and new studio setup.
This is our story.
This is our story. We're sticking to it.
Okay. Adios.
Peace.